How do organizations like Good News Club and Young Life Spain uniquely support long-term discipleship rather than short-term impact? You kind of talked about how these group leaders are encouraged to, once they're back in Spain, they're supposed to keep inviting them to church, keep encouraging them. What did you learn? What do you want to keep learning about? Like, how do these organizations target the goal to keep them coming back or keep them asking questions? How do you see that playing out?
Mm-hmm. With Good News Club, I mean, one of the CEF's goals is to, as the kid changes, the parents will be saying, "What's going on?" I see good things, or and we've had parents say, "Thank you for what you're teaching my kids. I just see them growing so much." And we hope that families, because of the kid changing, the family will start to go to a church. And we, if they ask us, do you have a church you would recommend? We will recommend. So usually the leaders, it's not just from one church. Like the club I work in, there's 4 churches represented in the leaders. Okay. So that's very nice. So we can say, we're allowed to share what churches we go to or recommend. It is hard in the Good News Club because they're kids, and just to get a message home to the parents a lot of times. And so I wouldn't say that there's a huge track record, but you're giving the love of the word into them.
Sure.
And I mean, I've had some of my leaders are people that were in Good News Club when they were little, and they planted the seed and they came to salvation there. And they're like, "I've been following Jesus for 30 years.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like encouraging to us to hear that.
And I was just thinking too, like faith is like a mustard seed, right? Like you may leave those kids after that period of time and be like, "Oh, none of them came to ask me, can you pray for me? I want Jesus to come into my heart." But that you were able to at least just tell them the gospel and that you can pray over them, and that someday that little piece of story will come back into their mind or inspire something in their parents. I think that's something that I've learned too in the past couple series and seasons. We've talked about de-churching a little bit here and there. And something interesting is that we've seen that parents are more likely to go back to church once they have kids because they see how hard it is for this generation of children, and they say to themselves, maybe a little church isn't so bad, or maybe we should just give them a good community of kids to be around. So something like that is just a small step can lead to a big change in their life, as you see there with that leader.
Definitely. Yeah,
that's great. I think that those things are can be discouraging in the moment, but once you see long-term effects like that, it's like hindsight is kind of 20/20 in the way that you see the Lord's work playing out. But once you see, you're like, okay, it's still working, it's still happening. Yeah. We just have to trust, like you said, trust in the Lord, keep praying for those kids.
And even this year, God gave me an encouragement. One of the girls came, and actually the first week, she didn't realize she was supposed to be at Good News Club, and so she was out waiting for her mom. And then she called her mom, and her mom says, "You're supposed to go to Good News Club." So she came for like the last 5 minutes. And then when I took her out, her sister was in the car driving and said, "Miss Mary, do you remember me?" And I had her like 15 years ago, and she's driving now. She was a kindergartner through 4th grader when I had her, and now her sister is coming. So the family, I'm not exactly sure we're just getting into the year, so I don't know if the family's Catholic or what, but the sibling had a positive response, and so mom sent the child again, the next child. So it's like you do see the positive experience with Good News Club leads the family to be more open to the gospel and to growing.
All right, Mary, on to the next question here. A study of Latin American Studies program alumni found that 89% reported their time abroad influenced changes in their religious faith, often emphasizing social justice and leading to justice-centered vocations. In your ministry, have you seen global exposure shape someone's calling or faith in a lasting way? So you've talked a little bit about your students and how you've kind of see them come back. And other than the leaders kind of showing that they're interested in working with the Good News Club, can you think of any other ways in maybe your work with Young Life Spain has helped to shape kids' justice-centered beliefs or anything like that?
Like I said, Spain is a very dark continent.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
hard. And I think the leaders are happy because for so many years they said it was a missionary graveyard. Like they'd go over there and they wouldn't get anybody.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, we haven't had tons of kids come to salvation. I would say in the 12 years I've been working, we've probably had 6 to 8 profess and you know, we start walking with the Lord.
After they go back or here when they're here?
I mean, usually at camp. So 2 of the leaders that have come through the program.
Okay.
They came, they were unbelievers. And yeah, one of them that came a couple of years ago, her name was Maria. Her family was definitely not believers. She came really sharp young lady. Actually, both of them that came are in doctor programs, like getting their physician's license. She went home. She was like, I wanted to explore this more. And her parents were really like, this is a cult. We don't like what you're...
Interesting.
And she goes, well, I want to go. And they knew she was a sharp young lady, so they allowed her, but they were still very hesitant and said, we don't really like this. But after about 6 months, they said, we don't really like this and we don't know what it is, but we see good things in your character. So we'll let you continue to go, because she was getting discipled and she was going to church.
Got it.
With the leaders that had come with her.
Okay.
And yeah, she just grew. Her family's still not believers, but she is dating a Christian man there.
Wow.
And she came back as a leader of the students. And man, the students that year were really peppering them with difficult questions from our culture. You know, sexual questions.
Sure.
You know, just all the difficult things that are going on in society. And they were so bold. I'm like, wow. I mean, she's 23 years old and she has really solid answers.
Great.
So, I mean, you saw God was raising her up, and she's, you know, they weren't backing down because they were... I mean, they're dating, and sexual expression is very free in Europe.
Okay.
It's no big deal at all to have relations. You know, even the parents even know they're doing it.
Okay.
And she was living a pure life with her boyfriend. They weren't going to, you know, they were going to stay pure until marriage. And the kids were just like, what? I can't believe it. And so it was like, I'm thinking... wow. I mean, could I have been that strong at 23 to give these answers? And they weren't backing down. They were gracious. And they were, so, I mean, I've seen them grow to be bold leaders. Yeah, at least 3 or 4 of the leaders that have come over the years have been students that came through the program.
Yeah.
And then after they can come once or twice as a student, and then they have to be discipled at camp where they're servants at the table, because they're trying to teach them we're servants.
Okay.
And they would have intense Bible studies because they're trying to really raise up those kids and disciple them. And then they're still getting discipled at home.
Great.
So, yeah, it's affecting their lives. And you can see God is, I mean, they're looking for Christian husbands. And, I mean, I'm always praying that more of the men that come would come believers. There's been 1 or 2, but way more of the women have said yes to Jesus.
That's generally how it is here too in the West. It's so interesting that you're even mentioning, like, I'm thinking back to when you were saying that their parents are seeing changes made in their kids, and the reason why they're okay with it is because the values that are being instilled in them are positive values. And I think that we see that here in the study. Even if kids aren't professing the gospel or interested in pursuing a life as a Christian, they're getting good values instilled in them from others, and that's making a difference in someone's life, right? And so I think that's either way, that statistic, I think, proves to be positive in that our generations are hopefully getting better, and the fact that like they're gaining a sense for compassion and service at the table and things like that. So either way, I'm sure that that's a blessing. And again, they're getting that mustard seed. They're getting those good values instilled in them, and their parents are appreciative for it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's great. And I'm sure that you would agree too if your son came back from a camp where he was, offering to make you dinner every night. You'd be thankful for that too. So.
Definitely.
Well, Mary, you've come from an experience, so I'd be great if you could speak on this. Hosting a student means making space, physically, relationally, and spiritually. So what does hospitality look like to you as a form of ministry?
I mean, before we even started to do any of this, God had given us a house that works for hospitality. So it's fun to see that, okay, I have this design for you and you don't even know it yet. But so, yeah, opening your home is hospitality. You don't have to be perfect at all. Things don't have to be perfect. I remember one year we were having a house project, and like they were redoing the kitchen and the living room floor. And I was like, oh, we can't do this. And my husband's like, they're teenagers. They don't care. They're boys. They don't care. And they really didn't. And we ended up laughing because each day they'd come home, like they'd come home from camp and it's like, oh my gosh, everything looks different. All the furniture's on this side of the room now. And we sat outside on the deck in this little crowded space because that's what was going on at that time. And so, it gave laughter and stuff. So, people don't need to see perfection. They need to just see you care about them and you spend time with them.
What a good picture of just the Christian life in general. We're not supposed to go through life thinking that we're supposed to be perfect, right? And so even just a life of messiness or other kids or no kids is going to have some bumps in the road, and that's okay. And showing those kids that just because we say we're Christians doesn't mean that we present ourselves as perfect or anything like that. And so I think that just showing those kids that, hey, we're still normal, we're still people too, like that's a great example.
Yeah, and usually over the years, I've seen that families that have gotten to share their struggles, like one of the host families had gotten pregnant out of wedlock, and she was able to share that with them.
Wow.
And I can't remember the situation with the student, but I mean, it just brings the walls down when they see. Yeah, I remember a number of family that was like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I don't think our family's right. And she just was saying, oh, like, you don't have to worry about all that. Like, just be real, because that's what they need to see.
Yeah.
And those situations that can be sticky can give really good conversations. I think one of the years, one of the students had lost somebody, and the adult, the family had just lost somebody. And so God used that to minister to them. And so those messy things of life can really give good conversation and can soften hearts, because it's like, oh, wow, this really means something to me right now.
Yeah, and relatability. Even those kids are like seeing someone at a completely different age and stage in their life, but still finding ways to see similarities in them, and maybe even with their parents, and that's probably comforting for them as well.
And then you get to share a Christian standpoint of how do we think about death? How do we think about, an unwanted pregnancy, and what will we do? And that could be like, wow, I would never have heard that for an unbeliever to come into that. They see you're a reasonable person, you've been kind to them, and you have a solid family, and this is how you worked through this. So those can really cause great conversations.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Mary. Well, what practical steps would you give to someone wanting to mentor or minister cross-culturally, whether abroad or in their own town? So maybe you can also use this as a way to kind of tell people a little bit more about if they want to get involved in Good News Club or Young Life Spain, how can they do so?
Well, I would start with prayer and make sure that's what the Lord wants
Mary
you to
praying.
do.
Yes.
Because especially with the Young Life, with hosting, you really have to have the whole family on the same page, because the student is staying in the house. And if there's tension and they feel like, well, these people don't really want me there, that's not a good witness to them.
Right.
And there's some years that are not good years for someone. Like if the family is too too much craziness. It might
Yeah.
not be. So, and sometimes that will happen. And then a year or two later, they'll be able to do it. And it's the right time for that family. So you want to ask the Lord, is this of you? And is the family on the same page definitely for a hosting thing? As far as how to practical steps for Good News Club,
Maybe you can talk to like a parent, because since this is more kind of like a local ministry, maybe you can talk to a mom or a dad that has heard about Good News Club, that is thinking of sending their kid to Good News Club. Like, why would you want them to have their kid be involved with that?
it's fun for them to, I think it's a good experience for them to be doing Christian stuff in a non-Christian, like in a school environment, because it's nice for them to be able to invite their friends. Yeah. Whereas they may not be able to invite them to church, but the parent of that unbelieving kid might be able, okay, you can go to Good News Club.
Yeah.
So I've seen that where kids have gotten to invite their friends, and that was a blessing. If you want to check it out, the parents are allowed to come and
great.
sit
That's
in
good
on
to
club.
know.
I mean,
Okay.
we're always like, you are welcome to come and sit.
Okay.
Because we want you to feel comfortable. You're welcome anytime you want to come in and observe. Even if they don't believe in Jesus, they're going to learn good morals. They're going to learn, here's this book that's been here and has given wisdom to people for thousands of years. It's fun. It gives them, I'm always pleased. Some of the kids, we take early release day because there's not as many clubs.
Okay.
And normally, normally the kids would get out at 2:30, but they get out at 12:30. And so they get an extra hour and a half that the kids stay with us, and it lets the parent work longer.
Yeah.
And it's a fun club. We do the Bible story, but we're doing games to the memory verse. We're songs to learn the memory verse, games that are review games to the story. They get snacked. So it's a fun club.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to learn good morals from it too.
Even just getting to hear that their kids will be encouraged in a club where they're not going to be ignored. They have people there that care about them, that are going to be taking good care of them, that want them to learn, that want them to be safe. I think that that's really encouraging too in a school environment. Not to say that there aren't good clubs that are offering that as well. Like, I went to Boys and Girls Club after school, and that was an X-Track, and that was like one of my favorite things to do after school. But I'm sure if that had been available to me, my mom would have probably just made me go to that instead.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a great opportunity for parents to give their kids that option after school and be with their friends for another amount of time. And hey, if they don't have to do homework for another 2 hours, I'm sure the kids don't mind that.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, great, Mary. Let's get into the last question here. So what's one thing that you hope this next generation of global women and student leaders understand about living with purpose?
I think the Lord wants us to get out of our churches and go, reach out to the lost. Both of these ministries do that. Yeah. And doing missions does that. We get out and we go to them and we love on them and we bring the good news to them. Because not everybody's going to come to a church, especially with kids. If their families don't go, especially the Young Life one, we're drawing them by English language and culture, and they're going to get that. We pray, Lord, let them go home with good English skills. I asked one of my students, so why did you pick this program rather than something else? And they said, well, my friend told me that the families were amazing. And I said, so did you feel like that? Because they were with us and they're like, yes, we loved our family. But all the kids, at the end, when they're going home, they're just usually crying and hugging each other and like, oh, we're so sad. And it's sincere.
Wow.
So you're making friends. I love how the families, as you as a parent do missions, it exposes your kids to that heart.
Yes, it does.
There's no better way, because they realize, oh, wow, these people, they're people like us. And you get to hear another culture. You get to see things. You get to say, so like, how do you guys do that? And it's fun. And they're not afraid, to have strangers and to talk to strangers. It just gives them a heart for missions. So I really like that. I always encourage parents, if you want to give your kids a heart for missions, this is one way to
Yeah.
do it. You're showing them by your life that this is important to us.
Yes.
And I hope it becomes important to you. And it's also good. It's good for our kids to have to give up a little bit. Sometimes the kids have to come in and sleep together with their sibling so that the student can have a room. And the Lord blesses that, and they do not regret it. They don't get to the end of the month and like, why did I have to give up my room? They had such a good experience that, they're grateful that they did it. And so it makes us able to let go of our comfort, and the Lord blesses that, I think, in those relationships and those experiences.
He does.
I don't think they'll regret it.